Hello everyone, welcome back to the Pearl Atelier. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are new here, my name is Eileen. So today I'm going to be talking to you about the ruby gemstones, one of my most favorites. I've been wanting to make this video for quite some time and it is upon special request. So when you talk about ruby in Sanskrit, it's literally translated into the king of gemstones, and it has always been steeped with a lot of legends, and one of the most famous legends of all involves the prince of ruby and how he stole the ruby from the god Krishna from the bottom of the sea, and therefore he was able to marry the princess that he loved, and he attained a lot of wealth and fortune after that. So the ruby has always been very revered in many cultures. The best rubies in the world comes from Burma, but the setting for the ruby is most famous in India. I mean, who has not seen the Bollywood movies and be totally enthralled by the goddesses that wears the precious stones such as ruby, represented in that red color. The color red has always been very auspicious for a lot of cultures. For example, in Indian weddings or Chinese weddings, the color red is being used, and the preferred jewelry for Indian weddings is the ruby, and you can understand why, because it is also the stone that has the highest vibration for love, much more than the rose quartz, and also it has been the stone of choice starting from the Maharajas of India to China. Since 200 BC it has been worn because it's brought to China via the Silk Road. You can see also examples of the jewelry that are being displayed from the Maharajas collection from the past.
This collection of jewels dates to nearly 500 years ago.
It really is an old Maharaja's treasure.
This goes back to Mughal India.
This was the most important dynasty that ruled the country. Objects that are jeweled beyond belief. One of the greatest examples of the fusion of East and West was with the Maharaja of Patiala, one of Cartier's greatest clients. And he would supply Cartier with trunks of jewels and stones and gems, and they made the most beautiful, extravagant creations for him. One of them is a ruby bead choker, which is beautifully worn by the Maharani of Patiala. You will see that many of these important jeweled birds and falcons were part of Mughal treasures. The quality of the workmanship, the influence of East and West,
as well as the collection from the imperial royal family in the Forbidden City in China. And you can see that the ruby in the traditional sense, or those antique rubies, is almost exactly like the one that I am wearing, which is not the transparent type which we always associate the modern rubies like the ring that I am wearing. So the traditional and antique form of ruby is more sort of translucent, because don't forget, at that period in time they do not have access to modern machinery. They cannot cut as many facets to the stone as they can today, and that is exactly where you find the translucence of the stone, because that is how the antique jewelry of the past look like. And this is precisely the type of jewelry that I absolutely love. have always been enthralled by ruby ever since I was a little girl, because I had a book on the folklores from Asia, and one of the folklores was the story of this dog, and it carried the ruby in its mouth and went on a long journey, and I can't remember the whole story. And I told myself that when I grow up, I really want to get this ruby, whatever it is. My mom actually gave me a ruby ring in the shape of a heart, but because at that point in time I was not well versed with gemstones, I wasn't aware that it was actually a natural fissure in the ruby, and I thought it was a crack, so I wasn't happy with it and I returned it. And then decades later, one day when I walked into this jewelry store, I was immediately drawn to the cabinet like a magnet, because in the jewelry case was this magnificent ruby pendant necklace that I'm wearing, and I told myself by hook or by crook I'm not getting out of that jewelry store without owning this piece of ruby pendant. This ruby was a very important milestone in my life, because that was when I met up with the Maharani, my mentor, who was going to help to educate me about gemstones, and that was how I got into the business of buying and selling jewelry. So this is precisely why I say every piece of jewelry tells a story. As I mentioned, ruby has always been very revered and also beloved by all kinds of monarchies, from the Queen of England, you can see her wearing the ruby, and then to the Maharajas of India, as well as to the emperors of China, because it is a so-called gemstone of blood. And that is exactly why they always say that the best color of ruby is the pigeon blood ruby. There are so many legends surrounding it, and that is why people always believe in almost the mythical properties of ruby. Out of all the three precious gemstones, that is the sapphire, the emerald, and the ruby has got the highest vibration of all. And I personally believe this because every time I wear a piece of ruby, you feel so much energy from it. If you look at the images of any of these court jewelers, you can still feel the energy emanating from those magnificent pieces, and you can understand why they loved them and was worn by the royal imperial ladies. And so because of all these legends, there is also a belief that the ruby is actually very healing for those people who are anemic and who have any kind of blood disorders. In the past, people would purchase it for them, and they would actually wear it on the left hand, because the left hand is connected to the heart and through the veins, so they would actually purchase rubies for them. And also it's very good for people who lack confidence. It's also very good for those people, for example, if you are at crossroads in your life and you don't know which direction you are headed for, or if you're about to go into a new venture, this is the perfect stone for you. It will really help you to bring in all that positive energy and high vibration into your life. However, I would put in a note of caution for those people who are very volatile in nature, who are very bad-tempered or quick-tempered. The ruby is very strong. Perhaps if you were to purchase it, that you wouldn't buy on such a large piece, and you should be all right. If you would like to know more about gemstones, I've done other videos. I'm going to be linking the playlist towards the end. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you would like to browse through my website, you may do so at www.thepearlatelier.com, or you may just click on the icon on my YouTube landing page, and it will lead you directly to my website, or you may look at the link in the description box down below. This is Eileen signing off, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.
The way you changed my life. No, they can't take that away from me. No, they can't take that. The memory of all that. No, they can't take that away from me. The way you changed my life. No, take that